let's get into it. And we'll start with none other than America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. All this noise, as always, that's what the Cowboys do. Can you help me nail down a realistic expectation for them? And I would love to hear it from you first, because this has just been my lived experience for a decade. I feel a little too close to the forest to see the trees. So I would love for you to start and tell me what you think is a realistic expectation for the Cowboys this year.
Yeah, as I sit here in my home field Notre Dame 1977 championship shirt, I can't help but wonder what you mean about being too close to a situation to accurately read it. I would never know anything about that. But no, I think for all of the business entity and entertainment product that is the Dallas Cowboys, and for the focus on their offseason in a number of ways, from not going out and meaningfully adding to the roster in a way that is never really what the Dallas Cowboys do, especially lately, I still think the bones of this team and a realistic expectation for this team, once again, is maybe not 12 wins. Maybe 12 wins every year is something that we've gone nose blind to a little bit and forgotten how difficult that is. But this should still be a double-digit win football team. This should still be a team that can win the division in the NFC East, while you've got, I think, the Giants arrow pointing down, the Commanders with a rookie quarterback and questions still on defense, and then this Philadelphia team having to basically do a full overhaul of last year. I think Dallas should still expect to win the division. And from there, I can't realistically, Dave, say, and the expectation needs to be they get to an NFC championship or anything like that, because we just have no proof that that's possible right now. But they should absolutely be capable of winning a playoff game, even with this team, even understanding it's probably not as good as last year's roster overall.
I think that last part is what it comes down to for me. And I don't really even care if the Cowboys win the division. You know, the NFC East hasn't had a repeat champion famously since the 03-04 Eagles. The Cowboys and Eagles have been swapping division championships for the last 3 years. And I think the Eagles are going to be a good team. We'll get to them in a little bit on this show. I don't really care if the Cowboys win the division or not, but you got to win a playoff game, guys. You just have to. I don't care if it's as the 5 seed and you go beat, the 4 seed like you did a couple years ago. I don't care where you are. If you're hosting because you did win the division, it really doesn't matter to me. I do think now that we've gotten closer to the season, that there was a lot of doom and gloom when you let Tyron Smith leave, when you let Dan Quinn kind of pilfer your defensive depth. He signed 3 or 4 guys away to the Commanders. It's easy to look and be like, they're not as good as last year. And that's probably true. Still a hell of a lot of good football players on this team, Mike. And I'm with you. Like, even if it's a lesser version of this team, it still feels like enough to win a playoff game. And even if they can't break that conference title game drought, the only way to keep everyone in the world from clowning on them is if they don't go over like they did last year.
Yeah, that really is. I guess, shame is a powerful motivator. So maybe at some point, the Dallas Cowboys, there's enough shame in that fact, because you're right. And I understand depth. You could have that conversation in a lot of areas for this team, and the areas of concern from last year, most notably the rushing attack on offense and the run defense, outside of, Mike Zimmer and structural changes. And we'll see what that nets them in terms of helping out against the run, are not demonstrably better on paper. But you still look and you've got star players like, and I understand the name game only gets you so far. It's easy for us to sit and barf out on TV, but like at the impact positions, yeah, you lack depth in the receiver room outside of it, but there's a reason you gave CeeDee Lamb all that money, because even in obvious situations, he's borderline unstoppable. Dak Prescott was the MVP runner-up for that same reason. Zach Martin's still playing at an insane level, despite the fact that we're probably in the last few years of his career. You get Diggs back on defense. Micah Parsons is an unstoppable force of nature's fury. And so all of those premier players that, yeah, like sound good names, it's not like they're guys past their prime. They're firmly in it. They play premium positions, and they all play impact enough positions to where, yeah, even outside the depth, you're better than 90% of the rest of the league. You've got rich problems for sure, but they're problems you should be able to solve.
Let me ask you this, and you played offensive line, and this just goes to show like the whiplash of life in the NFL, where you're just adapting to new information by the day. A big part of my angst with Dallas was that Tyron Smith walks to the New York Jets and Tyler Biadasz goes to Washington. And the plan is to replace those two guys with rookies. And I've been doing this too long to think that that was going to go well. And then we get to the preseason and maybe it's going to go just fine because Tyler Guyton looks like a dude. Cooper Beebe looks like a dude at the center position. And all of a sudden I'm like, man, if they really did it again and restocked this offensive line in one draft class, there's no telling what they could do. But I'm also self-aware enough to realize that they're opening the season against Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Browns. So how highly do you think we should be buying into this change at offensive line here in the preseason?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a worthy reminder that especially, like, I know CBA talk is really unsexy, but what with me and the fact that it changed the hours so much post 2011 CBA and everything after that, how much time you could spend on the field. No position got affected by that more than offensive line, where you are doing the most technically difficult position, O-line and DB, go backwards and block insane athletes using really unnatural skills and techniques. And so it takes time under task. And for a guy like Tyler Guyton specifically, who's so toolsy coming out of Oklahoma, but needs more time and ball, that's going to affect you most early. The first quarter of the NFL's regular season has essentially been dubbed an extra preseason now that we've devalued the actual one to the extent that we have. So I think that one could get ugly. Like, Tyler's going to make mistakes early on. It's going to be inconsistent. I think the thing that, like you, was most heartening for me in the preseason was, one, you can tell the effect of being around Zach, being around Tyler Smith, who was a similar profile coming out of college. You see the consistent motor there. Effort is something that's non-negotiable for that group, and it shows. But also, like, the arm length, the tools that were the sell for him, even while technically he's still going to get some things right and figure them out. And against a guy like Myles Garrett, you don't want to stress test the first week. You don't want the pipe stressed by a hurricane the first week of the season, but that's what you're getting. You've already seen on tape the tools bailing him out of bad situations that his technique's gotten him into. And so knowing that's there, I do think it's going to be a fun watch, even if Myles is going to win that matchup, because that's what he does against everybody.
It's going to be fun one way or the other. All right, let's try to wrap these up with a thesis statement. So we're saying Dallas Cowboys contend for the division, at least make the playoffs, and man, it would be nice to see y'all win a playoff game.
Yeah, I think you can even boil it down to a sentence. Win a playoff game. Like, where you're at as an organization, win a playoff game. That really, the assignment's simple for them.
I think that's completely fair.